You're trying to upgrade the heart of your kitchen, but you don't want a fancy fad that ends up collecting dust. You need something that cooks reliably day after day, fits in the flow of a busy home, and actually feels worth the price tag, not just a list of glossy specs. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'm going to walk through why the Ramsay by THOR 30-inch professional liquid propane range might be the answer for some cooks and why it could be a misstep for others. When you start looking at high-end ranges, the first thing that trips most people up is the sheer number of features that sound impressive until you try to use them in a real kitchen. The tilt panel touch control, for example, looks sleek, but the real question is whether it stays responsive after a splash of grease or a quick wipe with a towel. In my research I found that owners who actually cook with a lot of sauces appreciate the flat surface because there's no ridge to catch crumbs, yet the panel can be a little finicky if you're wearing gloves or have a greasy thumb. That's a practical trade-off you need to weigh against the clean aesthetic. The dual burners are the engine room of this range. One is a high-output burner designed for searing steaks, while the other is a lower-intensity zone for simmering sauces. The real-world benefit shows up when you're juggling a stir-fry and a pot of risotto simultaneously. The high-output side hits the heat you need in under a minute, and the lower side maintains a gentle bubble without the temperature swinging wildly. If you regularly cook multi-course meals or love the cook-everything-at-once approach, that flexibility can shave precious minutes off your prep time. But the continuous cooking grate is a subtle detail that many buyers overlook. Because the grate runs the full length of the cooking surface without gaps, you can slide a large griddle or a sheet pan across both burners without having to reposition pots. I saw a couple of home chef forums where people talked about using a 12-inch cast iron skillet for a weekend brunch. Nothing slips, nothing tilts, and the heat distribution stays even. If you're the type who likes to experiment with big batch breakfasts or bake a sheet of cookies on the stovetop, that great layout makes a difference. The panoramic viewing window is another feature that feels more like a lifestyle perk than a necessity until you actually need it. Imagine you're simmering a delicate sauce that takes 45 minutes, and you can watch the surface from the opposite side of the kitchen without turning around. It's not just about convenience, it reduces the chance of a boilover because you can keep an eye on the pot without crowding the cooking area. For anyone who runs a busy household where the stove is a focal point, that extra line of sight can keep meals on track. Now let's talk about the white projector light on the panel. At first glance it looks like a high-tech gimmick, but it serves a real purpose when you're cooking in the evening or in a dimly lit dining area. The light illuminates the control area, making it easier to set the exact temperature without squinting. The downside is that the light can be a bit harsh if you're using the range under soft ambient lighting, and some users report that the illumination takes a second to fade after you turn the burners off, which can be a minor annoyance during late-night cooking sessions. Who should consider this range? If you're an enthusiastic home cook who already uses a gas stove and values the ability to switch between a searing blast and a gentle simmer without moving pots, the dual burners and continuous grate will feel like a natural extension of your technique. The tilt panel touch control appeals to people who like a minimalist countertop and don't mind a little extra care to keep the surface clean. The aesthetic black body with bronze accents works well in modern or industrial-style kitchens where the appliance is meant to be a centerpiece rather than a hidden workhorse. On the other hand, this isn't the best fit for someone who wants a set-and-forget solution with minimal interaction. The touch panel, while stylish, does require a certain amount of tactile feedback that can be missed if you're used to traditional knobs. If you have small kids who might press the panel unintentionally, the lack of a physical lock could be a concern. Also, because it runs on liquid propane, you'll need to have a reliable propane tank installed and be comfortable with the periodic refilling routine. For renters or folks in apartments where propane isn't readily available, a natural gas model or an electric induction cooktop would be a more practical choice. A hidden trade-off appears when you factor in installation. The 30-inch footprint is standard, but the weight of the range and the need for a proper ventilation hood means you'll likely need a professional to handle the setup. Some buyers have mentioned that the cost of installation can push the